pretty quickly. And then I feel like anyone's legend, you can just take the AD carry here. Support, if you want to go for the Leona, it's now, right? I think if you don't take it now, it could get taken by FPX. But if you're happy giving it over, jungle makes a lot of sense, right? Jarvan available and Thresh banned makes him a really tempting prospect, especially as Xin Zhao and Lee Sin are gone. So either they go for something like Leona, they go for another support, or could be the Jarvan here.
Again, we will see the Jinx and the Aphelios in that bot side. Like you just mentioned, the Jarvan locked and loaded. The FPX, though, like you said earlier as well, might just fancy themselves the Leona. Go for that movement, get themselves that guaranteed engage. And honestly, I still think anyone's legends are going to be pretty happy with that trade-off. They can still go towards a Nautilus or something, a similar hard engage for QiuQiu.
Honestly, they could go for a defensive spot as well. We saw the Braum in the last series working well on the Leona. But first and foremost, we talked about those earlier today, the big four junglers, Xin Zhao, Lee Sin, Jarvan, and Viego, all of them way higher than anything else in terms of pick rate. So FPX want to secure the last one available with that Viego. I think here you have options. Lulu is something we talked about before, right? We said Hung has played this, and I think this is a good opportunity, right? You give a lot of power to the Aphelios that might allow him to outmatch the Jinx in the later stages. I think for anyone's legends, you have two choices. You can look to target the lane with a Leona and play aggressive. That's what I expect from QiuQiu. Or you could go for something a little bit different, and they might actually look towards this Gwen for ZDZ, knowing they can ban away answers to it.
Yeah, it might be a nice little pickup here. They will obviously, of course, put anyone's legend down the priority list for supports, and yeah, they lock and loaded it. So the Lulu here with the Aphelios, again, we saw highlights of it from Hung. He knows how to play this enchanter, and this is something that you've wanted to see more from the LPL teams.
Yeah, it just gives such a strong scaling element. You can pair up with the Viego as well to buff him up in skirmishes, especially post 6. It makes it very powerful. We'll see what gets banned away. Jace makes complete sense. FPX, I think you just ban the Lulu. Really good for QiuQiu. Provides a lot of threat in lane. You want to kind of trim down those lane presence picks so that Lwx and Hung can have an easy time to scale up.
Well, the Jace taken away, the Nautilus. I wouldn't be surprised to see the FPX ban away the Leona as well. Take it off the board. There's the Jack. So again, good picks taken off the board here by anyone's legend. They're trying to give ZDZ as much of a good time as possible. And for FPX, they're trying to see if they can just get Lwx and Hong off to a good start. And I gotta say, you know, we talked a lot about Gori and of course for Beichuan, but this is still Lwx's team. Lwx, the only surviving member from that 2019 World Championship winning roster. This guy went to back-to-back LPL domestic finals last year. He is still a world-class AD carry. He just, you know, it just feels like Hong is adding that little bit of extra fire to him.
Absolutely, and you know, he's in a position here to carry with these picks, right? A lot of agency on these. So now we're going to see what's going to be answered by QiuQiu, right? A lot of the aggressive support's taken, Rakan still open and available, and this still provides engage. It still provides strong team fighting, but not as much lane pressure into the Lulu Aphelios. So they're going to have a much better time here. Now, the FPX, Graves, pretty stable. We've seen this a lot in the top lane. Holds up pretty fine into the Gwen. And the question is, what is going to go in the mid lane? We have Victor open and available, but you are playing into this Jarvan. Is something that can make things difficult if there's two targets that could be pinned down. So potentially something with a bit more mobility stands out to me as a powerful option.
I also like the combination of the Rakan with the Jarvan. If people don't have flashes and they get caught in the Cataclysm, it's a perfectly good grand entrance into a quickness. So can do a lot, but it is going to be Gori with the Ryze. Very standard champion. It feels like everyone plays it to a very high degree. So not surprised to see him take it out. And that's going to give them good side wave pressure against something like the Gwen. It's going to give them a good wave control as well. So a lot of very decent options here for FPX should they want to go for it. And then the Zoe locked and loaded here for Maple. So it'll be the Zoe into the Ryze now into that mid lane. And honestly, I feel like both teams got a lot of what they wanted.
I gotta say though, I think anyone's legend, I'm probably happy with what they got, right? They have tools to deal with this Aphelios, with this Ryze. They have the Jarvan engage, you have the Rakan engage, and then no one really has the range or even that much of a threat to deal with the Jinx, right? Jinx, obviously, you can just outrange all of these champions, and, you know, they don't have something like a Nautilus, a Leona that can dash into it. They don't have a Kennen. These things aren't available, so I feel like anyone's legend can be pretty comfortable. I think the thing is, you know, Graves is going to have priority in the top lane. You have the Ryze in the mid lane who's got potential to set up roams. And on top of that, like target mid, right? Ryze is a mobile champion. You gank mid, you get his flash minimum, right? And then off the back of that, you can now free up pressure, free up control. Lulu is so dangerous to, I mean, not Lulu, sorry. Zoe is so dangerous to roam against because you never know when out of the fog of war, a sleepy trouble bubble is going to connect. And then you can start to spread that pressure down bot. Gank bot again and again and again. Get this Jinx ahead, and the game should just play itself.
Yes, it should. What? We are on to the riff for game 1 of this best of 3. Anyone's Legend looking to make an upset. FPX looking to join OMG around the top side of the table. Of course, they wouldn't be equaling OMG, as OMG to have 6 wins and 0 losses. They would be, if they take a 2-0 today, it would put them on to 6 wins and 1 loss. And again, more movement here from both sides, both trying to get some early vision. And again, this, as you know, I keep referencing it because it is a bit of a skewed matchup, shall we say, in terms of a David versus Goliath. It is very much on anyone's Legend to get that information to make sure they're the ones being proactive. So I'm glad to see them going for that early vision.
Yeah, getting a deeper ward in onto that red buff, so they should have a pretty good idea of where Beichuan is. But right now, have things slowly kick off, and this is the real place to watch the bot lane, right? And the problem is, Rakan can't really do too much until level 2 at minimum, but usually level 3. And until then, it's double ranged against... I know Rakan's technically ranged, but not compared to a Lulu. They're just going to harass you, right? And the Aphelios very strong at level 1 because he has that long range Calibrum combined with the healing from the Severum, so you can just harass. And this is going to be the pain point in the early game for anyone's Legend.
Xiaohao going to go from 2 camps up top and maybe even look for a quick level 3 gank in the bot lane. We'll start up the Gromp here, and this is exactly what you wanted to see him do. A little bit more of a creative pathing coming out here from the Anyone's Legends jungler. They can make something work. Again, like you said, yes, you get the push here in the mid lane, or sorry, in the bot lane, but you have to be very aware that you push up, you're exposing yourself to a potential move here. They now know that the Viego is on the red buff. That ward will see him. He will see it die, so he'll know exactly that he has been caught out, or spotted out, I should say. They'll keep that information to themselves and how they want to utilize it.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that Viego's fine just kind of farming up in the early levels. Level 6 is really where you spike in the skirmishes. And particularly against a Jarvan. Jarvan's very good at initiating, kicking the fight off. But in terms of a longer fight, Viego gets so much value. They might actually end up looking towards the mid lane. Maple is pretty far up.
Yes, he is. He will get room prisoned. Flash in. They get himself the stun down. Can he get over the wall? I don't think it's going to be enough. Does the potion keep him alive? It does. Maple with the flash over. Always use your pots, ladies and gentlemen. Keeps you alive.
Yeah, and in this situation, Maple doesn't lose too much because he has the TP available. He'll just be able to come back in the lane. Xiaohao even holds it for him, so he misses as little as possible. But it does mean Maple without flash is a potentially vulnerable target for some future roams.
No flash there. No TP as well to get himself back in. Does have the unsealed spell book, so may be able to get something working for him there. Scuttle is going to be secured on the top side. It was a trade there as Xiaohao now finally goes to take away his own Krugs. And this is what we wanted to see, but on the opposite side, FPX the ones getting the early advantage, going for their early trades and looking to see if they can make something happen for them.
And I mean, I think doing that is the right call. Beichuan gets that early gank off, applies that pressure, and it just means one of the bigger threats, right? You had priority in the top lane, you had priority bot. It was Maple who had priority mid, but by putting pressure down on him, it means he's not as free to push up, and it means that you can just continue to let your lane succeed. Right now in the bot lane, you can see QiuQiu and Betty just trapped under the tower and able to really push out from there. And steadily, we're going to see damage chipping away at this tower. If Lwx starts getting plates, it can be a real disaster for anyone's Legend.
And we know how powerful it can be just comparatively when 180 carry has the Gale Force and the other one does not in terms of the mythic items. So you do not want to be on the receiving end of that. It is still only about 300 gold lead, maybe even only 200 in favor of FPX. But again, those small little advantages can mean the world to either side. It can be the difference between a finished item and a half item. It can be the difference between 2 wards and only 1. There's so many little small things that can be the difference there. We'll wait to see where both these teams want to go for it. And so you can see Maple. God, I hate Zoe. I can't deal with the summoners, man. It's not fair.
The worst is redemption. Do you not remember when like you get the early redemption
Teleport.
and you just walk towards bot lane and throw it down when they're fighting? There is nothing that infuriated me more. It was so annoying.
It's just like
at least summoners are usually like just within your lane, but oh, man.
That's what I thought. I thought it was only summoners that are available to you. And then I remember ages ago I was playing a game and she picked up 2 exhausts and me and my laner just couldn't do anything. It was just upsetting. But speaking of doing something, Maple is now here to try and make something happen here. We'll have the trouble bubble. They do not spot out Xiaohao just yet, and they're going to try and jump down onto Viego. They will get the knock up from the grand entrance. He gets ignited down. Is it going to be enough damage, though? The auto attack, is it good? No, they do not need it. They have the paddle star. And that is just going to be first blood to anyone's legend. Like you said, you wanted to see this early proactivity, and you got it.
Yeah, and I love that from QiuQiu. He's the one who makes the roam up. It's a 3v2, so they go in favor. And critically, Maple had hit level 6 just before that play. It actually makes a big difference for the Zoe being able to, use that portal jump in, get the extra proc of your passive, but also just for repositioning to land things. Good play coming out. They managed to get that kill, relieves a bit of pressure, get some gold in. Now see ZDZ looking for a fight.
He's going for it. It's going to force the flash out of xiaolaohu, and maybe they're going to go try and look for this. Doesn't quite get the last of the ultimate off, so he's not going to be able to sustain that much. But the summoner down, Ghost is up a hell of a lot quicker than Flash.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the power of the Ghost and the Gwen, right? Allows you to run a target down, and it is that short cooldown. You can just chase them, land the 3 ults, get that damage in. Didn't quite connect with enough to take him down, but still posing that threat, still trading up technically in terms of summoners. Now, Dragon picked up by Beichuan. Obviously, nice one to be able to get early. And the reason he can is because there's permanent priority bot. And this is kind of the pain. This is why FPX came out of the draft so well. All the aggressive supports that we typically see were taken off the table. And QiuQiu just like, you can't jump in. If you jump in, you get polymorphed, and then you can't dash back, and you will get absolutely shredded.
Yeah, it is a pretty disgusting combination. The adaptation we're seeing, and honestly, you mentioned it, how other regions, LCK, LEC, hell, even LCS, are picking up these enchanter supports. LPL hasn't really tended itself to that particular setup just yet, and for me, I feel like that is just going to lean itself into FPX's advantages. We talk about all these early results and how they don't mean a lot, but getting those, your grip on the meta far earlier than everyone else can just lead to wins because you just understand what's stronger at the time.
Yeah, and it's the flexibility, right? It's the ability to play both styles, which Han clearly can, because that's the thing in the other regions, is they will still play those aggressive supports when the time is right. But I feel like there's been too much lent on them maybe in the LPL, because I heard talks of scrims in EU where they just played almost excessively, and I think finding a good balance is good, and this was a good situation, right? They find the advantage in lane, they know the scaling's really strong. There is some concerns in the later stages where they don't have the engage tool depending to get on Betty, but if Lwx is strong enough, you just buff it and let him go.
Have a Cataclysm available. Maple with priority here, and QiuQiu again just moving out, and we can see the difference in priority here from both these teams. FPX saying, Hung, you are our guy to stick beside this Aphelios. You're not to go anywhere else. You need to be by his side 24/7. We'll get plates, we'll get advantages, we'll be able to move it out. On the other side, anyone's legend are saying, QiuQiu, get yourself out onto the map, affect those lanes, get us something that we can do, because we're not going to get anything from this bot side anyway. We might as well get something positive.
Yeah, they get a whole plate, they deny a wave away from Betty, and now Beichuan's moved down, they're going to steal away some jungle camps. They're still denying farm from Betty, still level 5. This is really painful for the AL bot lane.
It really is. Gori will be spotted out there by Maple, as another plate will be going over to the side of Lwx. That's a hell of a lot of gold now in his back pocket. You can see it there. It's about a 500 or so, maybe even a little bit more, maybe even a 700 gold lead in that AD carry role. And we talked about it earlier. That can be the difference between a Gale Force and a Kraken Slayer. That can be the difference between a half item and a completed item. It does matter, especially at these early stages.
Yeah, and you really need the Aphelios to be strong, right? It was talked about a couple of days ago in one of the interviews about how, Aphelios isn't going to scale as well as the Jinx, but in the laning phase, you can apply that pressure, and if you get a lead, that's where you can find favor in the matchup. So Lwx pretty far ahead, and they're just going to continue applying that. I love the denial. I love the decision not to go for the Herald, because at the end of the day, they got 2 plates, they denied a ton of farm and stole jungle camps. If AL just throw down the Herald to get 2 plates, that's not worth it, right? They need to get more, and at this rate, they might just lose first tower.
Yeah, and this is a pre-10-minute first tower, but it looks like Xiaohao and QiuQiu are here to try and make something happen with it. But as I say that, FPX are responding in kind. They know they can take this because they can join this fight straight away. Lwx can flash in. Look, he's already back up to full HP. They just cannot kill him. Tower goes down. They waste all of those engage tools on the side of anyone's legend. FPX read that like a book.
That was beautiful from Lwx in particular. I honestly thought they might just be like, whatever, we'll sacrifice him to get the first tower. But no, they bring Gori in with the Realm Warp. They then have Lwx flash at the perfect time to avoid all the lockdown and CC. And then he's able to turn around. I believe he had the Severum available to get a big heal in. Just excellent play coming out from FPX. And now that Aphelios over 1,000 gold ahead compared to Betty.
Yeah, big swing of momentum there for the side of FPX. Didn't result in any kills, but you can see they don't need kills. They've already got themselves a 1,500 gold lead, regardless of the kills. They got a 20 CS lead, or probably 25 CS lead, to be perfectly honest, in top side. They have a CS lead in mid. They've got a CS lead in bot. It's just laning differences that are coming out for FPX. And though I love the kill from anyone's legend early, it hasn't equated into any real setup for them.
Yeah, and it sort of makes you think back to draft, because anyone's legend had the opportunity to pick that Leona early, right? And did not do. So they put themselves in the situation. Now, what I will say is post 6, Rakan poses a lot more threat, right? When he has his ultimate available. And now Lwx doesn't have his flash. So he can't step up quite so far, especially when those ults come back up. Once Cataclysm's there, once the quickness is there, he does have to be a bit more respectful.
We'll say, getting another plate though, and this is the quickness you can get. You're not even at 14 minutes yet. You still have 2.5 minutes left, or just a little bit under it, of just getting plate golds and getting some more resources into you. Your Graves is totally safe to push up a little bit further now because there's no tower. You get priority in that bot side because there's no turret there for the side of anyone's legend, which means another dragon goes over to the side of FPX. And honestly, this is just starting to feel a little bit too far for anyone's legend. They need to be proactive. They need to start making a move, because right now they're dying a death of 1,000 cuts.
Yeah, well, they are trying to do something here, so they're going to throw the Herald down, but this is just a 2-plate Herald, right? You throw it down, you get 2, but they're looking for Lwx.
Lwx, he will use his Moonlight Vigil to go back out. They're going to try and burst him down. They will get the Cataclysm out on top of him, but it does go over to Chocho. So now, can you get out of here with your life? Yes, you can. Flag and drag to safety. Anyone's legend, good proactivity there from them.
Yeah, solid play. You kill the Aphelios, you punish him for that earlier summoner burn, and that's what I was kind of talking about. You can't play so disrespectful when the Cataclysm is back up. He was under tower, but you have to expect this, right? You know your team is on the side of the map. You can't really defend that. And on top of that, they get the 2 plates on the Herald. So generally positive for anyone's legend, but they're still down. This is still a very strong Aphelios who's 1,000 gold up on the Jinx, and has now picked up that Gale Force.
Got the Gale Force, now has himself the boots as well, working towards what I imagine is either a Collector or Lord Dominic's Regard. So very much in a very decent spot for the Aphelios. And again, look at that difference. The Gale Force versus not a Gale Force. And all it was literally... And he's died. The Jinx has an assist. Technically, the Jinx is doing better. And that's the difference it can mean between those small little advantages, those small little things that can come up in your favor. And for FPX, they're going to continue on to it. But it's not all doom and gloom, as you said from this replay here. It is just anyone's legend punishing the fact that you do not have flash on Lwx, and you're going to be able to burst him down.
And actually, I think Lwx made a mistake here, because he had Severum, the red gun, available, and then he pressed Q, which ran him out of ammo. And the thing is, if you have the red ult available, it's so much harder to die, because the heal is massive. So I think he actually made a bit of a mistake there. If he had the big heal available, they might have not been able to pull that dive off. So clearly, potentially even could have got a turnaround kill. So maybe a little bit of error, ran out of ammo too soon.
I mean, those small little margins that make the big difference. As we come up 3 minutes until the next dragon spawns, plates are going to be despawning in 5 seconds. And we're going to see a TP up in the top lane. Everfrost has been picked up by Maple. And this is something I don't generally see, actually, with the Zoe. Obviously, it's not a terrible pickup, but it is going to be an Everfrost Zoe going into those fights. So looking to hop in, get some CC down, and maybe look to just set up for the Jinx to do the rockets.
Yeah, I actually really like it, because there's a bit of delay on the cast time on the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. So you can like ult in, you can put the slow down, the root down, and then you can easily land it. So I'm actually a big fan, especially because the thing with the Zoe is if you can pick someone off on the side of FPX, you really can just win the team fight after that. And they don't have anyone who can really tank a Sleepy Trouble Bubble well, right? Normally you have teams with like Leonas or something. You're like, okay, I don't mind if they get a bit low. I don't mind if they tank it. They've got a lot of bulky stats. And also, if they die, it's not the end of the world. But here, right, you hit one of these squishies, they can get popped. And really, if you lose Hung on this Lulu, he's a lot of power in these team fights.
Yep, he really, really does. And again, another objective looking like it's going to go over to the side of FPX. They lost out in the first Rift Herald. Not going to be the same time this way around. The 2 minutes till that next dragon spawns. There's an Infernal Soul, Infernal Rift. That's a lot of power you're going to be giving over. And I feel like anyone's Legend, again, still need to figure out what they want to do and when they want to do it. They've got some big item spikes now. The Rift Maker, the Gore Drinker, the Kraken Slayer, and of course, we mentioned the Everfrost. You're going to need to start moving forward and getting some kind of advantages because right now it does feel like, yes, CDZ's getting pressure here, but it's a little bit of turret damage basically for the Rift Herald that could lead to a turret.
Yeah, but I like the fact that at least, you know, because some teams will just feel obliged to contest and then lose. At least they're going for something on the side of the map, right? They apply pressure. They give ZDZ some time to get the tower. Are they going to lose out in the trade overall? Yeah, but at least they're doing something. They're not just sitting back and, you know, trying to fight a lost fight.
Well, turret number 1 goes get traded. It is going to be ZDZ picking up that bot side as well. You can't really walk up onto this, even though technically xiaolaohu would be totally fine to do so. He does not have perfect vision. They are going to trade the first turrets, so top for bot for being the trade, so anyone's Legend's happy enough with that. But you still have the Rift Herald in the back pocket here for the side of FPX, so maybe they're going to wait now, reset, get themselves back on the map, and maybe use that Rift Herald to pressure mid while also going for the dragon.
It's got to be mid. It's got to be mid, and the timing, as you said, is great. 45 seconds on that dragon would be the third for FPX. They throw the Herald down mid. They apply that pressure. Anyone's Legend has to respond, pulls them out of the river, and then you can establish control. On top of that, despite the fact Anyone's Legend were on the bot side, they don't actually have that good vision set up. They have one deep ward that's going to give them some value, but outside of that, it's pretty limited. So FPX have plenty of time to move in and contest this.
That's your time. 20 seconds till that dragon spawns, and you can see now pretty much all summoners available across the board. There is a heal here for Maple and a stopwatch. Good to recognize that before we get into this game. Now, where do you want to go? Exactly what we thought would happen for FPX. They drop down Shelly into mid lane. Beichuan is going to try and maybe be a nuisance here. There's a good Moonlight Vigil, but Cataclysm goes in with the quickness. I don't think they've got the damage, though, to turn this one all the way in their favor, and Anyone's Legend lose their jungler and their support. Already, we can see the Rakan going straight in. Excuse me, it's not the Rakan, it's Beichuan in his best Rakan cosplay. The dragon is going to be secured alongside the team fight and the mid lane turret. That is huge for FPX.
And Hung 1v9 that fight. In the replay, I'm going to point out specifically why, but he played that perfectly. They kept LWX alive. The Cataclysm burn his flash, but they weren't able to follow up, and Anyone's Legend gets shut down. Team fight win for FPX. They now have a 3k gold lead and third dragon of the game.
That is just such a momentous swing. They went from no kills to 3 kills. They got themselves a 3,000, probably nearly a 4,000 gold lead now at this point. There's just nothing you can do now as the side of Anyone's Legend. Even there, ZDZ can't just go in. He doesn't know exactly when people's recalls in, but let's have a look at the replay. Tell me what Hong does.
So specifically look at LWX, right? So he gets ulted by the Jarvan. Quickness coming in. Watch the knock up from the Lulu ult. To interrupt the W, he doesn't get charmed. He doesn't get CC'd, and he's able to turn it around. Perfect timing from Hong. Honestly, just beautiful.
Massive. And again, I always forget when Viego's in the game. He gets those effigies out. He's able to get himself back onto the map. He does get the reset, and of course gets himself another kill. So 3 kills off the trot. Got yourself a dragon. 4 minutes until that next soul arrives. That's going to be a 22-minute soul if FPX can get onto it. And Anyone's Legend, the game's running away from them. They sadly tried to contest. They just got outplayed.
Yeah, I mean, FPX looking good. The big thing, right, is that they have summoners available. The difference it makes when LWX has flash compared to when he doesn't. If he doesn't, he's sat in the Cataclysm. There's no way QiuQiu can really miss the quickness or even get disrupted from it, especially if QiuQiu has his flash available, and then all that follow-up damage can come in. The problem is, LWX uses his summoner spell, and then how long is it until Dragon? 5 minutes. How long is it until his flash is available? Here's a coincidence. It's also 5 minutes.
It's almost like the numbers. What do they mean?
They add up. They add up pretty good, man. Right? FPX has done the math.
They've done the math. They know exactly what to do and when to do it. But speaking of what to do and when to do it, ZDZ needs to get himself out. That is the correct play right now, but you've got a wave in the spot side, and it does seem like it's just going to be taken pretty quickly.
Oh, this
here.
is the
You
moment.
are going to have LWX go. Oh, great! Gale Force gets him away from the Cataclysm, but the quickness still not good enough. Moonlight Vigil goes down. Not quite able to burn off those last bit of health bars, but again, he tried to go for something, but the Gale Force is too good from LWX.
There's no way that he should be able to get away from that situation when he doesn't have his flash. You can see Anyone's like, whoa, they're pushing up. He doesn't have summoners. This is go time. But the slick Gale Force gets him out of dodge. They're not able to follow up. Even though some CC gets connected on the back end from QiuQiu, the follow-up isn't there. And a critical thing, right? Chocho just used his flash. That means it won't be available for the next dragon. So that's just another factor limiting your ability to shut down this Aphelios. And he is problematic right now, I'll tell you that.
He is a problem, to say the least. Doing, you know, just doing so much in these fights. And if you're able to, this is the thing, you know, there was always a big question mark over Lwx. Of course, there's a couple of different memes about him, and he has had some very questionable performances in big games, but when he's able to play like this, when he's able to get those Gale Forces off, those are the moments that you remember. This is a world championship winning ADC. This is a guy that knows how to play when the resources are given to him, and if he can keep up the consistency, honestly, he's going to be fighting for, again, the best ADC in the league if he's able to keep it up.
Yeah, and the problem is, not only is he doing a ton of damage which needs to be dealt with, but everyone else on the team is pretty bulky, right? The Graves has a shield bow and naturally gets a ton of free resistances. You have Gori, who's picked up the Thimble Winter, so it's actually tanky as all heck. And you have, obviously, the Viego, who's working towards Hysteric, has a Divine Sundra. So it's not like it's like, okay, we can't kill Lwx with other easy targets. It's a problem. And as you said, Lwx is making the case. He's doing a really solid performance here, continuing to just dodge and dip away from anyone's Legends engage.
And you can see just time and time again why you mentioned earlier today why you want to see more LPL supports going towards these enchanters. We're seeing it just here, how powerful it is to have a Lulu on your team. Lwx didn't have flash. That should be him dead to rights. And under normal circumstances with normal supports in the LPL, he would be. But the wild growth, the shields, the help picks, so many little things that just help you survive, just keep you going in these fights. And honestly, this is what I want to see more from LPL supports, getting those big, especially considering where the meta's going.
For sure. I mean, it's what we're seeing in other regions, and I'm not saying you need to pick them all the time. I'm not saying you stop playing like Leona and Thresh, but there's times when those supports are good, and I think FPX played it beautifully, right? By banning away this hard engaged options who are a threat in lane, right? Chocho still offers hard engage, but he wasn't nearly as much of a threat in lane. And look at Lwx.
Lwx has been caught out. The wild growth has been used. He flashes and Gale forces away. He's still alive. The Gwen's on him. But what's the Gwen going to do? Finally takes him down, but the damage has been done. Beichuan trying to go down on top of Betty. Not quite able to do it. Betty is pretty big, though. Betty needs one orchid onto anybody to get excited, and will be able to do it. Betty still pushing forward on this Jinx, and will almost be able to take over this entire fight. Anyone's Legend needed a big fight, and they got it.
Yeah, they finally managed to kill Lwx. The engage from Xiaohao super confident. Now they should find Beichuan here.
I mean, Beichuan, he has got himself the miss,
okay,
so he should be able to get out. He's still a Viego, but that's the big thing here. The side of Anyone's Legend can't go for the dragon just yet because the jungler from FPX is still alive.
He's back on the map. Both him and the support heading over full HP, and Beichuan, he's low, right? He can go to the Krogs and try and heal up, but they're already starting the dragon. This is the chance to stop the Soul. Infernal Soul is so game-winning potentially for FPX.
Look at Maple. He's going to have to try and be the vector here. And whoo, yes, you missed the Rise, but you hit the Lulu. Objective bounty going over to the side of Anyone's Legend. They stop the Soul. They give themselves another 5 minutes, and more importantly, that 5 minutes could literally mean an Infinity Edge for Betty.
Yeah, and Xiaohao, the mechanics were on point. Does the flag and drag into flash combo, and that's why Lwx got caught out, right? If you flag and drag him, you Cataclysm, he'll flash it, but watch what comes out here. So he thinks he's dodged it, but the flash to reposition, damage comes in, he makes all this distance away, but the Gwen comes from the flank, and he's now used all of his mobility, all of Lulu's tools are on cooldown, the Gwen just shreds through him, and then it gets very messy, but watch Maple's paddle start here. Flawless, putting this massive amount of burst in, and allows Betty to start toying with these resets. Fair play to Gori, trying to ult them out, but man, what a good fight from Anyone's Legend.
Yeah, Anyone's Legend keeping themselves in this game. They've got themselves a dragon now, and we can see actually this is going to go down pretty damn quickly. You got the white gun, you got a Ryze as well. This will be shredded if you are not careful. However, as I say that, it looks like the side of FPX don't want to go for the Baron at all. They know that they have a vision control. They just want to try and go for a fight.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. They are fishing for it. They don't want to flip this. They don't want to make it a potential to throw away the game. Despite last fight, FPX are still 4,000 gold in the lead, right? They still are one dragon away from Soul. They don't need to make a mistake that could potentially throw the game in the other direction.
Someone we haven't really spoken about, xiaolaohu, has 3 items. Infinity Edge, the Chemtech Chainsword, excuse me, and the Bloodthirster, or sorry, not the Bloodthirster, Immortal Shield Bow. Yeah, his farm is kind of nutty right now. 280 at 25 minutes. It's going to TP now to the bot side. They do not have TP on ZDZ, so he got baited down towards the bot side. Baron down to about 4,000 HP to go in. There's going to have the Jarvan in the pick. Can they get the steal off on top of this? They cannot. They'll lose their jungler, and they'll lose the Baron. FPX said you'll get 1 fight, but you'll not get 2, and they get themselves the big purple worm.
I love the call. As soon as ZDZ shows the bot lane, that's when they start the Baron, right? They TP xiaolaohu in. They know they're not going to be able to fight it because they're remember down. They know it comes down to that steal, that 50-50. The thing is, we always talk about it being a 50-50. It's always favored to the team in the pit. They dictate things. And as much as Xiaohao got in the pit in time, try to contest it, he's not able to sync up the damage, right? FPX are all ready to burst it on Beichuan's call, and they're able to secure it. And now with the Baron, enemy jungler dead, they can start to push it for the apply some pressure.
Yep, you got yourself a tier 2 in the mid lane. You can go ahead and take that final outer turret in the top side as well. Maybe even look for a little bit of a flank. The Everfrost use is enough to dissuade from QiuQiu going down, but that's a lot used now all of a sudden to try and defend that top side. It didn't just defend the support, who really shouldn't have been there. So a bit of a mistake there from QiuQiu. We can see the base being broken right here, right now.
Yeah, I mean, this tower is going to go down pretty quick. Now, remember, they can look for a potential engage. I believe Lwx still doesn't have his flash. He gets slapped there, but should just wake up and be fine. But I'm waiting for the opportunity, right? Cataclysm isn't quite up and available yet. But if they can get Lwx, potentially they can turn it into something more.
Just dragging anyone's legend all around the map, up, top, back, mid, and they're losing constantly. They're not allowing anyone's legend to get their foot back into this game. It's going to be a lot of unspent gold now in favor of FPX. They're going to be able to go back and use. The Everfrost doesn't land. They're going to go for the Flag and Drag and the Cataclysm to try and see if they can go for something. There is the Moonlight Vigils. They go golden on the top of this all to finally get the Aphelios down. They've lost the Rakan. Can they get the Graves on top of it as well? The Gwen is snipping. Beichuan goes down all the way to the base.
And he's going.
Tries to get something. Betty is still going strong. If he landed that zap, it could have been something more. But anyone's legend not done just yet. They overextend on the side of FPX, and anyone's legend take away the fight.
2 big takeaways from that one. One, how broken is Lulu, man? The fact that Lwx survived as long as he did, but also the difference it makes when Lwx doesn't have flash. Xiaohao, that was a very telegraphed engage. I saw it coming, you saw it coming, everyone on the game saw it coming, everyone who's watching at home probably saw it coming. Look at him, he just runs towards him. But what can Lwx do, right? He doesn't have a flash to get out of the Cataclysm. There's very limited counterplay. Xiaohao just starts walking straight at him, and it's like, well, yeah, okay, so he gets ulted in this situation, does survive a long time. Again, great ult timing from Hung, but it's not enough to keep him alive. But then after the end of the fight, right, they've lost their support. Xiaohao is pretty low. They peel back. Great decision to keep Betty safe, but it means that because they peeled so far back, they can't follow up for more kills. A good fight from anyone's legend, but again, Dragon at 20 seconds, Lwx flash is up.
Has flash, no heal. You do have flash and Gori, but maybe they don't want the dragon at all. Maybe they're just going to try and burn these people down. There's the Everfrost coming out there from Gori, who is at Machine Gun Ryze. Look at his items. He's very tanky and has so much scaling with that AP on the top of the mana for the passive. So we will see him do pretty much everyone's health bar in the blink of an eye if you allow him to just free hit. Now, anyone's legend not to be deterred, trying to see if they can get some more sustain off of this grot. They are going to jump on the Beichuan, who's trying to jump out on top of the jungler. Now we see the real fight happening. You can see ZDZ trying to see if he can take down this Aphelios. Not able to do it. And there's 2, 3 kills. Betty will not survive, and they don't even need the dragon anymore. They can use the Realm Warp all the way into the base. Aw, poor little Lulu. Poor little Lulu. Hong did everything, and he got left out to dry. It will still be FPX, though, taking the game 1.
Honestly, it probably works. You can interrupt their recall so they can't get back. So actually, worked out in favor.
Big brain
able to end the
Big
game.
brain Hung. Game 1, FPX. Honestly, pretty expected from the caliber of these two teams.
It was good. It was clean. I love the Lulu pick coming up from Hong, and his mechanics were clean. Every time QiuQiu went in for the ult, when the Grand Entrance came, when he was dashing, he always looked to interrupt that with his ultimate, limited the amount of CC and Lwx. Really excellent play. But honestly, I felt so bad for Betty in the last fight. You had Gori, this full tank Ryze, just walk at him menacingly, and there was nothing that they could do. It was like, just stand in his face. You can't kill him, he's too tanky, and he does enough damage to just shred you. It was painful, I'll be real.
It was very painful, much like my eyes there as I forgot to turn on my lights, and my focus is now back. I am no longer in the dark. But yes, FPX, just honestly, expected results, expected way to do it, and it was clean. I think again, we looked at the two supports. I think Hung is slowly creeping up the ranks of honestly probably a top 3 support in my opinion. Like you look at the likes of Ming and Mako and Crisp, I think he might be able to usurp 1 or 2 of those guys because he is just playing insanely these days. Like it's incredible to me how well he looks.
Execution was really good. I love the pick. I love the flexibility. We should see more of that. I think LPL team should be looking at this and be like, yeah, Lulu does have a place, but the draft made sense. It set it up so they had a really easy laning phase where they could just consistently apply pressure. And FPX, there was that moment where anyone's legend was looking to come back, right? That's the threat at the Jinx. Very hard for people to necessarily get in range with her, but in this situation, in the final fight, Gori just walked in and it worked. Yeah. So fair play to him. Anyone's legend put up a fight, but FPX very clearly dominating the victory, and you can see in the goal difference over time.
I just noticed xiaolaohu just having so much damage as well. He just farmed himself up a storm. He was about, I'd say 12 if not 13 CS a minute, which is nuts to think about. It didn't feel like he was doing much, but having that extra gold, getting himself his own private advantage meant that he just became an unstoppable killing machine at the end. His damage on his ultimate was able to one-shot waves, if not champions.
And that was the thing, right? Is that the focus for anyone's legend, which it should be, was kill Lwx, right? Kill the Aphelios. But there were so many other threats. You had this tank Ryze who was doing pretty solid, respectable damage. You had the Graves who was slowly just getting incredibly fed over the course of the game, and should anyone on the enemy team die, suddenly getting resets for the Viego. So as much as they had one major problem, it was sort of surrounded by these other issues, and by the time they dealt with that one main Lwx, they didn't have the gas in the tank to deal with the rest, unless Betty was getting resets.
Yeah, it was all on Betty. There was 1 or 2 fights where we maybe saw Betty going for it, maybe looking to try and see if he could turn the fight around. Didn't really happen for them, and that was unfortunate from the side of them. And again, for anyone's legend, this is still an uphill battle. This is still a side that isn't expected to come out with a win today, but there were some slight positives. I still think that QiuQiu did very well. We'll see how they come into game 2. We are going to throw it to a quick break, and when we return, we will have picks and bans for game 2 right around the corner.